Chapter 8.
Draco, Professor Dumbledore inquired as he delicately closed the book in front of him. Where did you come across this? Ginny, Draco replied, without hesitation. Ginny Weasley had it. I caught sight of her with it. Ron pushed back vehemently. Don't drag my sister into this. She's done nothing wrong. Dumbledore signaled for silence with a gentle hand lift. Draco mentally braced himself, shielding his thoughts as he had been taught by Aunt Bellatrix. Envision your mind as a fortress, not a blade to be dulled or pierced. This diary, does it belong to young Miss Weasley? Questioned Dumbledore, maintaining a scrutinizing eye. He appeared less disturbed now than he had been atop the astronomy tower, a detail Draco knew he should avoid reflecting upon. Is there truly a problem with it, Headmaster? Hermione earnestly queried. Anyone with a keen eye could discern from the reactions of Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall. Hermione stepped back, crossing her arms defensively. Draco glanced at her sideways, avoiding eye contact. It's premature to conclude anything, Dumbledore replied, his voice betraying the falsehood, as his sharp gaze remained locked on Draco. Draco, you mentioned this diary was, what was the term you used? Sinister? Why did you think so? Is Professor Snape coming? Draco asked anxiously, searching the room. McGonagall frowned in disapproval. Why do you refer to your house head with such familiarity? She began, interrupted by Dumbledore's knowing look, suggesting awareness beyond the present. Severus is actually Draco's godfather, Dumbledore clarified. At this, Draco's premeditated explanations crumbled. He turned to the Gryffindor trio, hoping Hermione had deciphered the truth on her own, and it wouldn't be impactful. Snape's your godfather? Ron said, incredulity in his voice. Is this why he always seems to favor you in class? Draco, why did you never mention? Hermione's disappointment was palpable, and Draco felt an unsettling pang of guilt. That's why you were so certain Snape wasn't after the stone last year, said Harry, eyes wide with realization. But you kept quiet, even when we believed he was after it for you-know-who. Draco stifled an instinct to rebuke Harry for saying the name. You'd have made him out worse than he was, only because of his connection to me. Never. How much more have you kept from? Gentlemen, Dumbledore interceded, his calm voice quelling the escalating exchange. Let us focus on the issue at hand. Draco, what led you to suspect this diary might be affected by dark magic? He could have claimed he spotted it at Malfoy Manor or saw his father slip it into Ginny's belongings, but that wasn't feasible. My wand, Draco blurted out, desperate for anything to say. It reacted when near it. I felt something dreadful lurking close by, something more sinister than anything I've known. My wand seemed to sense it. Your wand, Dumbledore echoed thoughtfully. May I inspect your wand, Mr. Malfoy? Draco relinquished his wand reluctantly, clinging to dwindling hope, as there was no method to prove he hadn't sensed something earlier. Interesting wand, Dumbledore mused, making hope harder to cling to. Did you purchase this at Ollivander's, Draco? When would Severus arrive? He would not allow it to proceed this far. He would shield Draco from this confrontation. Mr. Malfoy? It was from Ollivander's, Draco responded tersely. He felt the trio's and Professor's collective scrutiny, anticipating a revelation of darkness within him. Was this always your wand, Mr. Malfoy, or did it originally belong to another? No, I mean yes and no, Draco flustered. Ollivander didn't sell it directly to me. Who did he sell it to then, Draco? Dumbledore's voice grew firm and pressing. Draco stared at his hands, fingers tingling. My aunt, he whispered, hoping only Dumbledore would catch the words. Pardon? McGonagall leaned in, curious. My aunt, Draco repeated resolutely, meeting their gazes with Malfoy pride. Bellatrix Lestrange. He turned to gauge the reaction of the trio first. Potter and Hermione appeared puzzled, but Ron looked horrified. Did you say Bellatrix Lestrange? Ron stammered. You're able to use the wand that belonged to Bellatrix Lestrange, McGonagall said, scrutinizing him. She might have known Draco's aunt in her school years, searching for that familial resemblance. It serves you as its master? Draco nodded. Clearly, McGonagall did not know, nor did Dumbledore entirely. Severus Snape entered, expression sober until he saw Potter, which twisted into displeasure. Why was I summoned, Headmaster? Severus' expression only shifted when he noticed the wand. Could it be he concealed this from Dumbledore? Draco suspected Severus would not have considered it vital either until now. Mr. Malfoy, Dumbledore addressed him, brought this diary to our attention, originally owned by Ginevra Weasley. He insisted on your presence. Severus, any insight? He passed the diary to Severus, whose guarded demeanor solidified after glancing through it. He turned back to Draco, disappointment etched in his features. His wand sensed the diary's dark presence, McGonagall informed Severus. A family memento, we assume. Draco didn't object. Severus didn't reflect surprise, which I found frustrating. Impossible, Severus stated dismissively. Did you attempt any detection magic? Any spells on it at all? Draco shook his head. Ownership doesn't magically confer on a wand the ability to sense dark artifacts unaided, Severus pointed out, dashingly quashing credibility into Draco's earlier claims. Boy, Severus addressed candidly, how do you truly know about it? Draco looked up imploringly. No reprieve was forthcoming. Then Harry stepped forward. It might tie to his father. While acquiring my supplies, a mishap landed me at Borgin and Burke's. Draco was there with Lucius Malfoy. Later, we ran into them at Flourish and Blots. A scuffle ensued. Mr. Malfoy handled Ginny's books. Headmaster, I suspect Mr. Malfoy bought it at Borgin and Burke's to target Ginny, because he detests Mr. Weasley. Close, Potter. Damnably close. How easy, Mr. Potter, Severus admonished, to fabricate stories from mere vapors and start baseless accusations. Potter's focus had already shifted to Draco, his determined gaze unyielding as if extracting truth from thin air. Were you aware of your father's plans? Have you just now realized, or have you reconsidered to protect Ginny? Harry's appeal bore earnestness. It won't be her end, unless you miss your chance, Scarhead. I'm truthful, Potter. My wand was what sensed it. Never before have I laid eyes on that diary. Draco, Ron implored, grasping his arm. You're asking us to buy that story after just proclaiming on the train that you'd never betray your family for us. I understand why you're shielding him, Draco, but he's wicked. He doesn't care about you, and he treats you horribly anyway, argued Ron. Draco jerked his arm away from Ron's grip, even though the accusation held truth. Maybe he had started to believe that father was changing, adopting a more supportive stance with his matured son, using Hermione as a sign of openness. Perhaps he thought that time with Hermione might even soften father's stance on Voldemort's beliefs, just as knowing her had changed him. Yet father had not so much as laid eyes on Hermione until Flourish and Blots. Potter was likely right about his actions there. Draco had seen father put 2 books back into Ginny Weasley's cauldron. Potter was mostly right, except that the Malfoys already possessed the diary. Draco felt relieved he hadn't mentioned his father's visit to Borgin's to sell rather than buy, which might have led one of them to suspect that the diary was the one artifact father brought back that he hadn't sold. And still, Draco found himself tangled in lies made to guard father's secrets. Ron's words bruised him with their accuracy, particularly if father did commit the act. He unleashed a monster on the Muggleborns at Hogwarts, fully knowing the importance of Hermione to Draco. Maybe this was even partly aimed at her. Ron was briefing the 3 professors about the raids his father conducted at Malfoy Manor. Not that Draco had noticed much, having been in his silenced room engrossed in books. He stared into oblivion, reckoning the magnitude of his mistake. Implicating his wand had deceived no one. It was another demonstration, to anyone who remained unconvinced that Draco hailed from a dark lineage. But it provided him a convenient lie to stick to. Even if none believed it, it offered a form of protection, a useless, stubborn barrier shielding the truth. "Mr. Malfoy," Dumbledore addressed him, "are you certain nothing about the diary hinted at its true nature? This may be difficult, but we require every detail to handle such a potentially dangerous object." "Have you encountered anything similar before?" McGonagall questioned directly. Severus appeared prepared to defend Draco, but Draco begged him silently for silence, aware that his godfather's defense would only cement his guilt. "No," Draco replied, his ability to act fervent innocence now utterly depleted. He could offer nothing but this bleak acceptance of his villainous role. Ultimately, it mattered little, especially if it prevented the chamber's opening. The circumstances might seem different on paper, but any change in Hermione's habits, emotions, or interactions could determine whether the basilisk killed or merely petrified. Perhaps that was what drove him to seize the diary, spurred by her smile as she read. He was too fearful to risk it with his one true friend. "Thank you, Mr. Malfoy," Dumbledore finally said, allowing time where Draco might alter his answer. "We shall keep this book, scrutinize it closely, and tell Miss Weasley she must seek another diary." "I could get her one," Draco suggested feebly, "a better one," and Ron sighed. "Do you think she'd appreciate more gifts from your family after this mess?" Ron asked, sounding exhausted. Ron had aligned himself with Potter's theory. Considering Father's conspicuous actions, Ron's doubts were reasonable. Father's subtleties were sometimes akin to a hippogriff in a frenzy. "Ron," Hermione cautioned. Silence reigned for a moment as Draco sought a less offensive way to offer repayment. "Well," Dumbledore concluded, "this has been quite enough excitement for one night. Draco, your foresight might have saved a life. Hermione's, not Ginny's." Saving Ginny was less appealing. "Ron, explain to your sister, then it's off to bed in your houses. Minerva, Severus, kindly escort your students back." "Wait," Draco interjected, reluctant to retrieve his wand from Dumbledore. It appeared he wouldn't get a moment's quiet with the trio, let alone without eavesdroppers. "Please keep my wand a secret." "Like you only intended Severus to know," Potter remarked angrily. "Please," Draco repeated, unable to control the entreaty in his voice, aware he couldn't stop their talk. His sway was ash. "Your wand's previous holder," Hermione began, seemingly not recognizing the name. "Haven't you read Hermione?" Ron wondered, gaze fixing on Draco. "She's his aunt.
Bellatrix Lestrange."
From his mother's side. One of Voldemort's most devoted. Mum told us about my uncles who died fighting him. Said it took a team to defeat them, but she mentioned only Dolohov and Lestrange. Draco would forever remember how Potter stared at him then. "Come, Draco," said Severus, ushering him away. His arm enveloped Draco on the descent to the dungeons, more restraining than comforting. "Boy," he said, still at the Slytherin entrance, with hands firm on Draco's shoulders. "How did you learn about the diary?" "Will you tell anyone?" Dumbledore. "No," Severus avowed. Draco should have been cautious, not so easily trusting, not even of Severus. Yet, Severus seemed the sole person inclined to listen now. Draco possessed part of the story, enough without tongue-tying secrets. "It could help me handle the diary," Severus added, and Draco exhaled heavily. "I witnessed Father placing it in the Weasley girls' cauldron," Draco confessed quickly, concealed beneath her Transfiguration book. He was selling at Borgins due to raids, but hadn't traded the diary. Saw it last year with Aunt Bellatrix's wand at the manor. Severus's hands fell away. "And," he breathed, "you chose not to quietly remove the diary before it could do harm, not to exploit your Gryffindor ties to gain access discreetly. Instead, you prominently stole it from the girl in their tower, with her brothers watching, and then sprinted to Dumbledore's office, spinning a story so transparent it was glaringly unbelievable even to Mr. Potter. Draco met his eyes dolefully, while Severus sighed deeply. But was there any other outcome to expect? There are moments when it slips my mind that you're just a 12-year-old.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!